What up, nerds, and welcome to another salty episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 436, recorded Monday, August 14th, 2023. Tonight we're talking about the last voyage of the Demeter. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randu. What's up?
Hello, gentlemen.
What's going on, my dude? How's it going?
Hello.
You ready to get deep into conversation about Draculas and
Yes.
other shit? I don't know. How do we start a show? We've been doing this for almost fucking 1,000 episodes now or some shit.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a natural thing to say at the front. Can't do it.
It's fine. It's all good. Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Expecto Patronum Stains. You boys ready to throw back some Dementors, huh? The last voyage of the Dementors, boys?
I had to
talking
look
Harry
it up.
Potter 3, right? That's what we're talking about today, right?
Yes.
You're being a real wormtail right now. No, that I'll tell you this. Like in the game Hades, which I played recently,
Nerd.
the character. Okay, there is the Greek god Demeter is in there, and they pronounce it Demeter, so I can't not hear it that way or say it that way. I had to look it up. It is Demeter, like that's how it's pronounced, how it's supposed to be pronounced. But this fucking game has brain poisoned me. I can't say the fucking name right.
They fucked you
I
up.
thought it was Dementor.
I'm just gonna go with Dementor from now on.
I think her name's
Tur-
Bravo.
hard
It's
R.
the only solution.
Dementor.
If I can't- Dementor.
Demented.
Dementor.
We
vote's
got
Demented.
this. Bob. Come
Hi.
on. now.
Hi. I know I went there. Sorry. Before we get into
The
it, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Here's another reminder. We do have our September poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this September. The theme for September, it's actually my takeover month, and it is the cutting room floor. I got 3 movies that are about making horror movies, and they are Shadow of the Vampire, Leslie Vernon, and All About Evil.
Whoa, Bob. How those numbers looking? You got another vampire flick on there, huh?
I do, yeah. And it's winning, surprisingly
Whoa.
enough.
Man, all Dracula talk this season.
All
Apparently.
Draculas all the time.
All the time. Blood-sucking motherfuckers.
But this one doesn't have a swinging hog like our boy Willem Dafoe. So,
Well,
you know.
I mean, I don't
What a
know if he
shame.
hangs dong in that movie. I don't believe so.
Nosferatu.
I don't know if I could handle seeing Max Shrek's
got a
fucking
fucking
cock.
dick hanging out.
Jesus Christ.
That would be funny as shit. Yeah, Shadow of the Vampire is winning. Not because there's dick in it, because I'm pretty sure there's not. Yeah, I think it's got like 60% of the vote. Leslie Vernon has, I don't know, 25 or so. And All About
wow.
Evil's losing. So
All
yeah,
right.
handily winning.
Cool.
Lots of votes out there. Plenty of time to get them in. Make sure you do so before the end of August, and we'll see what we're talking about this September. We got mini casts dropping every other Friday. Wrath of Becky just dropped on the 4th, and coming up next, we got Insidious 5. Juice is talking about Insidious 5 on Friday the 18th.
The red door. Make sure rent go up an extra $500 when you got that red door.
That red paint, yeah.
The science don't lie.
Doesn't come
Mhm.
cheap.
They live in big time in the fervor.
The fur.
Dude, have you seen the interest rates on a new house in the further? It is obscene.
Who can afford
It's all
it?
about them red doors.
Nobody can.
I
No,
want to paint it black.
Yeah.
that's some middle-aged jokes right there, boys.
I know.
That's what we're bringing.
Colors!
We're making colors jokes today, children.
Jokes about rent,
Ooh.
And the color
property
of your front
values,
door. Wow.
interest rate.
Let me tell you a little something about escrow.
Sit down here,
You kids
kiddies.
get it, right?
Let me spin you a yarn
I'm going to pay you $100 to fuck
to
off.
fuck off.
Take it every time.
If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to all those Patreon exclusive episodes. We got like 105 on there now, and it's growing. That's pretty much all we got going on Patreon. Juice, do you have anything?
No, nothing new in particular. Wow, these festivals have been kind of like taking up all our time, but we are still dropping some reviews. Finally, kind of like wrapping up Fantasia. One thing, so all the new movies have kind of been posted on there, and so one thing I'm going to be doing a little kind of like backdrop with Beef on as well is some older flicks that just like we probably wouldn't be covering at any point, but both of those festivals usually in general have some kind of like classic film highlights, which are usually like underappreciated gems and stuff like that. And so I was going to be throwing up some reviews on some of that stuff as well. So those would be movies that were widely available and, of course, spoiler free. So keep an eye out on straightchilling.com. You don't even need the podcast anymore. Just straightchilling.com to read all of our reviews that we've done. And surprisingly, we've done a lot this year.
A lot. Yeah.
Fucking a lot.
Read them.
Yeah, we have a lot of articles. Yeah.
With your eyeballs. Randu, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, as Justin intimated there, the only thing I was going to bring to the table today is that we are officially straightchilling.com. Don't worry, straightchillingpodcast.com will still lead you straight to us. So will a number of other URLs. We splurged on URLs this week. So
all that Patreon money splurged.
I know.
Splurging makes me feel good.
Well, Jesus. Yes. So that's it, really. We just got a little bit of update on the website, some more to come.
I think we got
stuff.
Light and Shadow podcast.com leads you straight to Straight Chilling, Waxing the Porpoise.
I cut above podcast.
They all just lead you straight to Straight Chilling.
That's right. WTF with MarkMaron.com leads to us.
We own everything. Google.com, straight to Straight Chilling.
NPR.com.
We got Google.com for a song off of Google domains.
Yeah. Check out the website. There's some reviews for you. Cool. I think our house is clean.
I think so too.
His house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about the last voyage of the Demeter, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, have you pre-ordered this box?
You can't yet, but I'm sure you will be able to tomorrow. So
okay, all right.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Well, you gonna be pre-ordering it, Bob? What's on there? Any special features?
I don't know. That might be like a $5 Black Friday grab. We'll see.
Bob,
damn, you're already
movies in a row that you're not running to get the blues to. Whoa, are you waiting a little bit?
Is there something wrong with me?
I feel like you're hiding something from us. Like, did you buy the entire Criterion collection yourself or something?
I did.
Your money's tied up in a big fucking Vinegar Syndrome steal or something?
Tied up in a big old vinegar hole.
You buy 5,000 Vinegar Syndromes and you sell each one of those then for $15.
It's a perfect plan. It's funny. It'd be great if your scam was to just be Best Buy, but like 25 years too late.
Here's you were in the store, and then you could just sell blues out of it. You just sell them there. People come and they buy them. They could see what's there.
You can also sell them
a sucker born every minute. And all of a sudden, Bob becomes
smell of plastic.
Every user eventually tries the deal, is what I heard. So
it's true. That's a fact. Oh yeah, the last voyage of the Demeter. We're talking about that. It's a new release, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 58 minutes. This is the latest movie from your boy Andre Ovredal. I think we've covered all of his movies so far. Troll Hunter, most recently, we just did a review.
We haven't covered Jane Doe, have we?
I thought we had. Maybe I'm wrong. I know we've done.
I don't think so.
Troll Hunter.
We did one in 2020 also called Mortal.
Mortal? Oh,
Mortal.
I have not seen that.
I wasn't aware of it. Mortal.
Okay, well, never mind. Fuck me.
Respond, mortal.
I actually just covered one of his films.
No, in the Scary Stories, we did that too.
Oh yeah.
Scary
So
Stories.
this is
Yeah.
our third out of
50%.
5, I guess. Anyways, we're doing another one. Andre Ovredal. This was written by a whole bunch of folks. It's based off of a single chapter in Bram Stoker's novel, Dracula. Stars Corey Hawkins. David Dastmalchian is also in this. Liam Cunningham, Chris Whaley, John Bryans. Anyway, some other folks.
Bryans.
This is a new release for some watch for all of us, of course. Gentlemen, would you recommend people check out The Last Voyage of the Demeter? Randu, kick us off.
I don't have a particularly strong recommend for this. I think if you want to see a horror action adventure type of thing, this might quench that thirst for you. I really think it's a streamer, to be honest. That's kind of where I'm at.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I think this one has some things that we just don't get a lot of. So if you're like super into nautical horror, we don't get a whole lot of nautical horror, or just kind of gothic horror too is not super hot these days. So if you're really just kind of jonesing to see some of those kind of things, then, maybe it's worth going to the theater. I wouldn't go to the theater to check this out, but I'd definitely be down to check it out on streaming for sure. But I think it could be fun to see in the theater. So yeah, light recommend, I would say. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah, I think it's probably a streamer for me too overall.
Yeah,
I think it's worth watching, but like I wouldn't really go out of my way to recommend it to folks. And it did. I don't. Nobody's gonna go see this thing anyways. Apparently, because it made like no money this weekend at all, which is kind of a bummer. But
it is a bummer.
Yeah, I wonder if people are just over Dracula in general, because Renfield didn't make hardly any money either. Or
it didn't hit anything. Like, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's got any kind of cultural. I don't know. It just didn't like do anything for me. And I like vampires. It just didn't hit any kind of special chords in that way. Yeah, so maybe people just aren't into vampires right now.
And I do wonder if the name threw people, like if they didn't
that's what I was
fully realize that it was like Dracula on a boat,
It clearly did have trouble with that, because the advertising sprint that came along with this movie's release suddenly had the word Dracula right up by the title in like all of the advertising. It's like Dracula, Last Voyage of the Demeter, or like Last Voyage of Demeter. Like they just shoved the word Dracula.
The origin of Dracula, which it's not even really the origin of Dracula.
It's not.
Did they say that? Did they say the origin?
On one of the posters I saw, I think it might have been like a foreign one sheet, but yeah, it said like Dracula's origin or the origin of Dracula or something.
I think they really scrambled to try and find a way to get people aware that there's of what this is, because like it's not even just the title. Like I don't think this was marketed very well. I really don't think it was at all.
The trailer was some doo-doo for sure.
Yeah, I was excited as shit about this movie until I saw that trailer, and I honest to God, like even after having seen the movie now, I feel like my perception was skewed against it going in because of that fucking trailer with the goddamn Smashing Pumpkins song in it.
Such a bad choice to use that fucking song.
Yeah.
Such a bad choice for this film too. This isn't one of those movies. It doesn't match the time period, the look, the style. It doesn't match anything about this film.
No.
It's just the typical like trailer editors toolbox at play. It's like slow down, familiar song.
It would have been better to like pay someone to make a old timey cover of this or something. Play it on the old lute or something. You know what I'm saying?
Bust out your lute.
Play it on the old lute.
You got
bust
one.
out the lute.
Billy Corgan probably has a lute. I'm sure Billy Corgan has a lute, and I'm sure it's cursed or some shit.
He's a lute motherfucker.
Really and simply evil.
It's cursed.
I feel like they just have the song has the word rat in it, and they're like, "Yeah, let's fucking roll."
It had the word
with
vampire
that.
in it.
Yeah,
what are you rat? Vampire is the word.
That's the line that like I was like, okay.
The rats are stuck on the boat. Anyway,
No, I mean,
there's
that's
also a vampire. There's also a vampire.
That is the most on the nose
rat.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's just got the word rat, man. Roll with it.
Speak English, Doc. We ain't scientists.
I think vampire is the word that's necessary there.
That's kind of the on the nose one, but like rat is a little on the nose. But the whole thing is just, I really don't know that the studio knew what to do with this movie, and I think it's I don't know. My broader critiques are gonna play into that a little bit, but I want to let you get the chance to do your thing here, Bob.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very, very light recommendation from the street.
Tepid waters.
Super tepid.
Yeah.
We're gonna spoil this movie, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, were you able to stay awake this time and type out your own plot synopsis?
Yeah, mostly.
God, how many times did you fall asleep in this one, Bob?
I didn't really fall asleep at all. I was pretty awake. I went to a morning showing, so.
I'm sorry, you didn't really fall asleep is not exactly the confident reply we expect around here.
I didn't really fall asleep.
It was more of a cat nap.
It was just like a 25
Just a nod off,
hour nap.
It's not enough, yeah.
Tiger snooze.
All right.
Oh God.
Yeah, I got the synopsis here. Here we go.
All right.
Lay it on me, big dog.
On August 6th, the ship the Demeter washes ashore in England. Among the wreckage, a captain's log is found. 4 weeks earlier, the Demeter makes port in Varna, Bulgaria, picking up cargo to transport to London. While in port, the ship hires 3 additional hands, including a gentleman by the name of Clemens, who's a doctor and astronomer. The crew begins seeing a mysterious figure on board the ship in the fog. A crate below deck falls and breaks open. They find a young woman inside who's barely alive. Clemens performs several blood transfusions with her to help fight what seems to be a viral infection. The following night, all of the livestock on board are slaughtered. The young woman, Anna, wakes up and warns Clemens about the monster on board, a creature the people of her village call Dracula. Several crew members are killed over the next few nights. Olgarin is attacked and survives, but starts acting very strange, so he must be bound to the mast. He escapes and corners the captain's young grandson, Toby, in the captain's quarters, where he is bitten by Dracula. The following morning, Olgarin and Toby both burst into flames as the sun rises. The remaining crew plan to trap Dracula on the boat and sink it to keep him from reaching London. The captain and first mate are killed, leaving only Anna and Clemens. They crush Dracula with part of the mast, and the ship's hull starts leaking water. Anna and Clemens jump ship and float on bits of wood as Dracula manages to escape and fly to London. Anna starts showing signs that she has turned into a vampire and greets the sun as it rises, bursting into flames. Clemens makes it to London, and we see him hanging out in a pub. He sees Dracula dressed up. That bleached booty hole. Yeah, totally. He sees Dracula dressed up as a human, and he begins to follow him and vows to hunt him down until the end of days. Roll credits.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Bleach butthole. There you go.
this is this movie, man. I've been trying to. I'm like weirdly conflicted about it in a few ways.
Yeah, I
but,
kind of
like,
am too.
I think that it's just one of those weird movies that's like, it's got a lot of problems, none of which are terrible enough for it to be a terrible movie, but all of which are preventing it from becoming a good or great movie. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's got a lot of positives, but for some reason, the negatives, even though they're not necessarily egregious, they just shine through worse to me.
It's like very blunted. Like, yeah, it should be like a strong. I really think this movie, what I was going towards earlier, aside from them having trouble marketing it, I think that it's like, I really feel like this movie had too much budget almost. I think this movie
kind of feels that way.
I feel like this movie needed to be stripped down into something more intimate and less action oriented, at least for my taste. Maybe that's just my taste coming through, and that's the issue. But I don't know, like some of the story just doesn't really pay off. Some of the The acting is good, but they don't have a lot to do. It seems like the shots, like they're very good shots. They're very capable, but like it all kind of hits the same tone throughout the movie. Like it's not, I don't know. There's this feeling, like especially with the soundtrack. I noticed, like the soundtrack. I feel like if they had just taken out like 90% of the soundtrack, as good as it was, it's good music for a film. But for this film, it needed like the claustrophobic. Like they compared this movie to Alien, but Alien is a quiet movie when things aren't popping off, and this movie is constantly like fanfare and fever pitch of the audio, and it was really
Yeah, talking about like the intimacy, I felt the way kind of with the story too, of they needed to take their time, and it feels like they're too eager to rush into this action bit or this planning bit. But I was kind of so surprised, where I actually was pretty on board. I even looked at like kind of the timestamp up until about like 40 to 45 minutes, where they were just kind of building, where people are going on the ship, we're living in this world, we're figuring out like how the dynamics of the ship work and how the people work. And I honestly thought there was gonna be some more, especially because at first the animals die instead of people, and they just slaughter all the animals like right up front. And I thought there was gonna be kind of more of this like breakdown of the boat society of not trusting each other, of some paranoia, and some of that stuff, and they just kind of blew through that. Like honestly, it felt like the first 40 to 45 minutes was a lot of setup that I was on board with, and then the next like 35 minutes was just like boom 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 boom, like rushing through the Dracula stuff, and that like really surprised me, honestly.
Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
The characters in this, like I did have Alien in mind because that's what it was directly referenced by the director, and like the characters don't, like, they're all set up relatively well, but I feel like they don't have that back and forth well enough for you to be super invested in them. So when they start actually being picked off, like it doesn't hold a whole lot of weight for me. I wanted like more camaraderie, and like I wanted to know more about the characters. Like Clemens you get a decent sense of for sure, but most of the other guys you don't really. And like when Dracula does start showing up, I think they treat Dracula like 90% perfectly. Like it's not all great, but like they keep him in the shadows for a good chunk of time, and that's when it's most effective, when it's like really simple, like obscured in the distance, in the fog or whatever.
Creepy. Towards
the end though, they really start showing you a little too much, I think, and I wish they would have kept it more reserved. And like I just wish that it had that like smaller budget, grittier kind of like Lighthouse vibe. I just kept thinking of the Lighthouse, like how that's got like that sort of seafaring vibe with these crusty dudes that are stuck in the middle of nowhere and crazy stuff's going on they don't understand. And this it felt like too clean, too polished, I think.
Yeah,
well,
it did.
There were things that were thrown in that feel like that kind of studio interference shoehorn. Yeah. We don't know what tone to go with, which is so frustrating. So, I mean, even just like when the woman shows up on board, not that I have anything wrong with that character, that just feels, and the adventure tone it takes down to where like she's one of the last people and she pins him with the mask. I was just like, this is not really what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the Mummy,
it's
that's
really
what it
hitting,
starts to devolve into.
Yeah, it's like becomes sort of like predatory to like, at least with that character. Like, I don't know. I think this movie is like, I think you're right that studio interference, I think this whole movie is kind of like plagued with that, if I had to guess, because it seems like there's a lot of like interesting like things that are starting to be set up, or interesting like dynamics that happen later on that aren't really informed, that feel like they like key moments were stripped out or just weren't ever written and were replaced with more bombast. And that's how it feels to me. Like it's like people don't know this is a Dracula movie. You're calling it Voyage of the Demeter. We have to make sure that we bring the heat. We want the like. I think that probably the studio wanted this to be Pirates of the Caribbean, and Ovredal probably like he wanted Alien. So obviously, like there's a huge disconnect between those things, and I'm making a huge assumption there, but that's what it feels like. Is it feels like it's pulled in a couple of different directions because you have things like Clemens being an astronomer. They make a whole point about that. Like it's to show that he's educated, but he's not respected. And then they just kind of never talk about that again. It never comes up again. Him doing astronomy never comes through in the clutch. And then later on, it suddenly is like the race thing starts coming into play. And that feels like sudden as well. Like nobody at any point talks about race until it's at the very end of the movie. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense for the character, but like, can we set that up a little bit? I don't know. Like,
like I got to do the monologues in this are terrible.
They just don't feel informed or earned.
Yeah, they just feel like I need to drop a lot of info on you. Yeah.
And then they'll have something cool like the knocking on the thing.
Yeah.
That's a cool set piece.
That is cool. Yeah.
But it's like kind of not. It's kind of for nothing at the end.
That's the thing too. Yeah. So your mention of sound, I was kind of disappointed too with the fact that they had to tell me or have this whole kind of like speech about the rats. I was like, he had a couple cool lines. I like how he said, like, you could burn the ship down and the rats would nest in the ashes. So I was like, that's a cool kind of visual and line. And you do see the rats on them, you know, and that's part of that. Like I said, the first 45 minutes of like the rats are just crawling on these guys in the ship. And then I was like, if you took out the music cues and you had if it was mostly quiet and you just had this constant noise of the rat just like feeding in every scene, and then just all of a sudden they were gone, that would be so impactful.
Could be, yeah.
As a sound cue, just like the knocking on the wood and stuff, like make this a livable place that you play with these sounds, and they kind of waste that potential.
And you know, it's crazy because like I read, and I don't know if Bob, you were going to say this in trivia, but they built this ship from scratch. This is a ship they built for a set. That's incredible. Like
it is.
And it looks
cool
good.
It does,
but it's
look
like,
good.
It's just covered in studio cheese to a certain extent. It's a nutritious meal covered in cheese whiz. Like, I don't know.
There's not a ton of trivia on this, but
it's like eating a steak with ketchup.
God,
right.
One thing I did see was the script had been floating around for years and had been like written and rewritten, and it passed through the hands of several directors, and it finally like landed with Ovredal and finally got made. So like, yeah, there's probably a lot of different influences over the years that like landed on the page, and he had to make it all make sense at the end. So yeah, that
would make sense. That's like. It created a confused perspective. They have two lead writers written on here aside from Bram Stoker, which is just a name drop at that point. But they're both not Andre Ovredal, which is common, obviously. But I feel like in all that time, it was probably passed through 36 hands. And it really kind of feels like that. This is kind of like we had that movie by committee with Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Where it was, but like that felt tightly controlled, if nothing else. I kind of feel like the script of all things in this is not tightly controlled at all.
This feels like schizophrenic for sure. I mean, especially like as it goes on, it feels like that's why I was kind of like disappointed, because I feel like the first half almost like sets the tone really well for what I would be really interested in watching. Mm-hmm. And then I can just see it kind of devolve into, we need some action. We need some heroes. We need some, like, even people living. I was, them floating away at sea, and their whole plan. I was just like, what is this
stupid.
plan?
Dude, the plans, all of their plans suck, and there's infinitely better plans just available that they never even think about. They have to do everything at night.
Yeah.
Why?
It only comes out at night.
Just crack that shit open and put it in the sun. You just saw a guy explode.
Yeah, you just open up literally the middle of the ship and you start dumping each box of dirt into the ocean until you're left with one box. Yeah. Like you just dump it into the sea.
Or no, you just dump it all, like all of it. Like
they could just burn
in the
ship in the day. Yeah, light it on fire in the middle of the day. Get on your little boats and then just scoot on over to London, and then it's just
Dude,
dead.
yeah.
Like it can't.
But to be fair, they do give some good reasons, which I thought held up for most of the film. Where they bring up, which is kind of an Alien thing too, where they bring up, oh, why aren't we going into port? Because we want to get that bonus or whatever. But I thought they went too hard. Like when they killed all the animals at once and they were like, okay, well, for the next 4 weeks, we're eating only potatoes. I was like, okay, I know people want their bonus, but how quickly are you going to motivate everybody to be like, okay, maybe we should stop and pour to threaten their fucking food? Like that just, it went too ham to like it seems like it was like going along at a good pace and then you'd have this huge lurch and I'd be like, whoa, well that kind of fucks with things. And then you kind of maybe get back into it a little bit and then it kind of like lurch. And I was like, ooh, the pacing and like the choices were all like bumpy. It was very bumpy for me.
I mean, I tend to agree with most of that. I didn't find like the food, the ration. I mean, people will eat less if it means a huge payday. That's just, I feel like, human nature, especially people who do this kind of hard job for a living. They don't want to go out and have to do something else because because of this thing. But like the lack of societal breakdown, like you talked about, like the lack of those sort of things or any sort of like, there's very little like j'accuse going on. There's one scene and that guy who accuses is immediately dispatched by Dracula. And it's like, man, there goes like half of the interpersonal struggle there. And I guess what's supposed to be one of the central like conflicts is between Clemens and Wojak, Dastmalchian's character.
Yeah.
But like, I don't really understand what Dastmalchian's deal is until kind of right at the end where he's like, it becomes clear that, he's just like, he's a great first mate who's earned his place or whatever, and he's like he's lived on the ship for a decade, and he feels that he feels protective of it and all this stuff. But like I don't understand where their like conflict even came from. Like he saved the captain's son, and the guy's like, okay, get on, yeah, you want, and then he's just kind of like a dick to this guy a little bit, but there's no information informing any of this. So it just kind of like, I don't know, all of these interpersonal relationships feel like there's things that are happening off screen. And that shouldn't be the case with a movie that's about the claustrophobia of being trapped in a situation with a number of people that's dangerous and people start getting picked. Like, we should have some idea of how they relate to each other.
Yeah,
it's 2 hours long.
I was surprised that they killed the kid like so early on in the movie. I like really thought they were gonna like bust him out and like save him in the end, but they went for it. Did that catch you guys off guard at all?
Now,
I was a little surprised they took him because it was starting to shape up to be like pretty Hollywood, which normally would mean that the kid survives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was kind of one of my positives. His kind of scene, because that's where you get a lot of like of the more traditional, I guess, horror scenes and tension and stuff like that. But I will say one big positive for me was when that kid burst into flames and it caught that other dude on fire. That was awesome in a terrible way.
Yeah. Real fucking.
Yeah, that was something. So that's something that is, playing with some things that you do expect, but then delivering something you don't expect, where, we've seen vampire films, they burn up in the sun and stuff like that. And even the kind of mislead, that kind of stuff is why I kind of don't blame this director very much, because I've seen his stuff and he's very capable. And in moments like that, I'm like, okay, this could have been a great horror film because it sets it up, the vampire stuff, but it also has this mislead of like, oh, this is a guy, he's grieving and he says he saw the sheet move, nobody else saw it move, and you kind of suspicious, maybe we'll get a jump scare, but then to like catch on fire and like, that was just a good use of your setting and your horror tropes and stuff like that. And that was a big positive moment for me.
It was a small, quiet moment that got big very suddenly. And that's what works with these that's what worked for Alien. And like, if you're really using that as your jumping off point, that's what I kept like thinking about. I was like, this doesn't feel claustrophobic. It doesn't even feel like as beautiful as the sets are, a lot of it, I couldn't tell where they were. You should be able to have, if you're going to go through all that trouble and you're going to like film in this situation, you should be able to very clearly tell when, like, what room lies beyond that door to a certain extent. And we only really know, a few places we only see, like, I don't know, it doesn't really pan out that way. It seems a little confused, and it seems like it could have been done as a soundstage, which kind of sucks. But like, because of all the effort, then like, and it's clear that they like the dollar value is there, and that's why what makes it so frustrating that they can't get the emotional value in there.
Yeah.
Well, and even I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't kind of play with the claustrophobic aspects, even of, you could, because that's the kind of tricky thing is they do a lot of stuff at night, which seems nonsensical. But even if you were doing stuff during the day, I think there was one scene where it was during the day and you could see cracks of light coming through holes. But when you're deep in the ship, that leads to some, potential claustrophobic or really tight space of like, I just need to get to the light or something to add some real tension of something chasing you or like, oh, it's almost there. And they don't even really do that. And that's like, for having a whole ship that you built, that seems like, missed opportunity too, to see how like these little slivers of light or, how it plays with the vampire and stuff like that could have been good. But
yeah, they used the crow's nest a little bit, but like, it's okay.
They do use it.
Yeah.
They use the ship. It just doesn't really feel like it's all attached, even though it truly and honest to God is. It's just, I don't know what it is, and I'm not capable enough at filmmaking to really know what goes into making a place feel that way, but
it
doesn't come
difficult
across.
to shoot like wide shots of the ship because I think they did actually have the boat on a sound stage, so there was like certain angles they could shoot and you wouldn't see like a whole bunch of like random, I don't know, like camera equipment and shit behind it.
Yeah.
So like you could only like hit it from certain angles, and like it was difficult to shoot on the ship because it's only so big, so like you could only get so far away from certain things, and I guess it was maybe a little limiting that it was actually all one real ship and not broken up into different rooms, but I don't know.
I really just feel like there's so much time that passes in this movie, like off screen, that they could have done so much with. Like, I just feel like every action beat is immediately followed with, and then the next day, and it's like nothing really like lingers for any real amount of time. It doesn't feel like. I just feel like they could have had a scene where we're really fixated on Clemens in his bunk. He's uncomfortable. He's tries to get up and he like hits his head on the butt of the guy above him because he's in a hammock above him. And that's just the way like ship living is like, and it's like a little levity. And then like, but then it turns out like the guy thinks he's a piece of shit. He maybe brings up race and does something like that and sets him up to be not just like, oh, pampered, educated boy thinks he can come on the ship, but like really sell that home as just like, these guys do not like this motherfucker. They don't trust him. And then when the fucking livestock gets killed, then the guy accuses him or whatever, and then gets killed. Why aren't they like suspicious of Clemens at all? Like, there's none.
And they mention it like, oh, well, we found you with his knife, and then he just like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I killed him, and then nothing comes up of it. I mean, he's
got a good excuse. They could have like written it so that he didn't have a great excuse. Like he just they find him covered in blood holding the guy. Like that's all it takes.
Well, even aspects of, they spend so much time sitting and talking about, oh my God, we're going to get this much money, because they even say like, oh, divide it up amongst this many people. This is how much we get. Like they literally have the conversation of we're dividing it up amongst people, and nobody ever gets suspicious. Like, oh, like, I mean, we
somebody want an extra share
or something like, yeah.
And can we talk about that scene for a second? Because when they get to Clemens and they force him, like, and he has this like what's supposed to be a character beat where he's explaining that he's not interested in money. He's interested in learning about the mysteries of the universe. That shit rang so fucking hollow to me. It really seems like
beats of Hollywood, man. It's just like
his whole character is just a guy who's curious. Like that's his motivation. I don't know, man. He's got to be like obsessive. Like show him be like fucking hyper obsessed to a point of like self endangerment. If you're going to do that, so make his like fatal flaw that he has to overcome in order to. They were like trying to set him up as being like the Van Helsing
character.
Yeah.
So like as they get to London, he's like, I'm never gonna give up until Dracula's fucking in the ground or whatever he
Dude,
says.
oh my God.
We're hunting for dick.
He's hunting for that Drac dick. So,
It's like when you create these characters that have no flaws.
yeah,
Like, why?
Very one-dimensional, which makes them unrealistic and uninteresting to watch.
The thing is, like,
Yeah.
you
Can't
can
relate to them.
you can skate by on that with like every other character but Clemens in a movie that ends up being the kind of movie this is, which is an action film for the most
Yeah.
part. So like you can skate by, but you gotta have like a character who you understand his point of view, being like curious about the world and just thinking, I just want to see a bunch of stuff, and that's my motivation. I don't care about money. Take my like he has no defensiveness whatsoever. It just doesn't. It's not relatable, and it's not. It doesn't seem like something that's real until you like make it a character flaw of some kind or some sort of like give him something to do with that besides, you know, like Rob said, they are clearly setting up as a Van Helsing, and if they're gonna do that, you might as well just fucking call him like Johnny Van Helsing or whatever. Like
Johnny.
Don't do that. But I was just so disappointed because even going in, I had the expectation everybody's going to die. I mean, they find the ship at the beginning. Oh my God, everybody's dead. And don't make me go down there again and stuff like that. And just to take this tone of, I mean, even if you're going to go this action route, I just like, are people just incapable of writing these days? I mean, you take a character like John from fucking the Christmas movie where he's in the building, Die Hard.
John McClane.
John McClane, yeah. So I mean,
that's a character.
You have these people who are there. He's like, as an individual, he's deeply flawed. Like, he can't make his marriage work. He can't be in any kind of social setting. He's very like rough around the edges. But then he like steps up and like people need to depend on him and do those things. Like. How are you just going to throw this character in like, oh, I'm very smart and I'm also good looking and also I'm capable at doing a boat too. I'm a doctor and I'm an astrologist and I can fucking work on a boat and I'm just like a boat. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Astrologist is a whole other thing.
Well, no, okay, it's
same thing.
But yeah, same thing. Astrology, he's got his tarot cards out, but no, yeah.
Come here, Drac. Let me read.
There's a Dracula on this boat.
Are you a Cancer, Dracula?
I can see
Scorpio behavior, Drac.
Virgo rising.
Such a Scorpio.
But it's just like, and then he lives at the end and he's hunting down the vampire. It's just, that's not, people see through that shit. It's not interesting. Like, you have to have like developed characters. I don't know. I don't know why people aren't capable of fucking writing these days. I just don't know why everything's so fucking watered down.
We gotta get the AI involved. It'll make it better.
The robots will give this more humanity. We know that much.
More human. They had an excellent use of the fog hog in this movie. I will say A+ fog hog.
Well, okay, so that brings to a good point of Dracula himself. If we're talking about looks and stuff, what did y'all think about how the design they stuck with for Dracula? I thought it worked pretty good.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like it suffered from the same thing the rest of the movie did. That there's just too much money thrown at it to where it like. We learned on the Slack channel that it was all practically done for the most part, or at least like there was a dude in a costume in this movie. This is not a fully CG creature. It's not a dude in a onesie, a green onesie. So like, and for that you can tell like there's enough of that value of having a guy in a suit that you can tell, but it's also got a little bit of like that layer of cheese on it. Just that extra American cheese on there.
Javier Botet played Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like
I
like CG
the design
sheen on it a little bit. I like that they decided to go with the more like animalistic vampire like bat kind of thing instead of like just like a suave skinny dude like creeping around his ship. It's a little more like menacing and terrifying, and seeing his wings and like he's flying around the ship and taking people off of the other boat when the chef tries to escape or whatever, he can like fly out and take his ass. So like I like that he's got the added mobility of the wings and stuff, but I do think they end up showing too much in the end. I think my biggest pet peeve when it comes to how they treated Dracula is he doesn't speak much, but I wish he just didn't speak at all, because it doesn't sound good, and I don't think it looks good either with the teeth. When he talks, it just looks, hokey.
That didn't bother me, surprisingly.
It didn't bother me either.
Yeah.
But interestingly though, I like my complaint about Dracula, to give another look at it, is he's a real guy in a costume, like he's supposed to have a real presence, but then he ends up doing all this fucking like Marvel kung fu in the air and shit, and he's just slings by, and then the dude's throat's ripped open. I'm like, this isn't like, I know he's supposed to be supernatural. I understand he's supposed to be imposing. He's supposed to be very capable and all those things, but it's like he doesn't have as much of a presence, not throughout the movie, parts of the movie, but throughout the movie.
Beginning,
there's scenes where he like just kind of like flits in and out of frame, and it's supposed to impress you. Oh, he's so fast. How do we do that? But like really all it's doing is making him into a fucking Iron Man villain. It doesn't feel like a presence anymore. It feels like a cartoon character. Yeah. And that sucks, because they intentionally did not create a cartoon character for this.
I was surprised. So I like the design, and they go for the more monstrous Nosferatu, and then that's fine. But I was kind of surprised that we didn't get, because when he starts off, the first couple of people, it seems like he's kind of weaker. He's kind of crawling more, and that makes sense especially if he's leaving his castle and he's leaving his like home ground, and that's why he's got the dirt, and he's got to build it up, because we in the novel and even in the maybe not the film we see, but typically how it kind of plays out is when he feeds, that's when he is able to reestablish like his younger look, because I remember in I think when Jonathan first goes there, he noticed that he looks like super old. And then over time, as like he's kind of like maybe feeding on Jonathan, or he's like feeding in general, he's like, holy shit, you look like really good, And the thing is, it's okay if you want to keep him a monster, I guess. It's kind of a particular choice, but it really sours that ending scene for me, because this is a monster, a fucking winged, toothed monster, and then he's gonna roll around London in a fucking coat. Like, no,
he's got that glasses.
It's not rolling around in a coat and a top hat. Yeah, no,
it's a tightrope though, to some extent, because I agree to a certain, like, he should, like, nobody's not gonna notice the dude with fucking 3 giant fangs sticking out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of like, I could see a terrible studio version of this movie, another one, an even more studio interference movie, or even more moneymaker type movie that does like a special effect where it starts like he's like towards the end, he's like eating one of the people or whatever, and his face is like getting more full and more red or whatever.
Yeah.
And then and then it's like some celebrity, it's fucking Johnny Depp or some shit, and then everybody's like, oh cool, like I don't want that.
I really that is.
I don't fucking
Tom
care about
Cruise.
that.
He's gonna carry on the
but for him to get stronger throughout, like
Dracula.
Show him getting stronger, or just let him be like, he's rationing, right? They say that explicitly in this movie. He like organized, engineered this situation, which is a great idea. Yeah. So if he's rationing, maybe he just never has that full potential. So then you show him with the cane, and it's like a normal guy with an evil grin.
Maybe,
then,
totally.
Like, just do that.
Someone's lurking in the shadows or something.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he finally got his full strength up. He's got as many victims as he could ask for.
That would be such a better ending. Yeah,
that would be such better. Except I still don't like the idea that this guy survived, because that's fucking stupid. But
I also don't like that.
Yes, that is better.
Improved.
I don't know. The thing is, like, we can complain about this all day, and I certainly could. I think I'm just fixated on the negatives, like that happens with movies. are close to being good. And it's like there's a lot of good shit in here. Like taken individually, I railed on the soundtrack, but the soundtrack's good when it's just you just take it as a soundtrack. The shots are good when you're just taking them as shots. Like,
and I would say 90% of Dracula is good. It's really just until the very end where for some reason they were just like, we don't want to hide him anymore, even though we have just drowned this set in fog. I mean, because up until that, even sometimes like even when he was kind of crawling up the crow's nest thing, I think behind one guy and you see the full shot of the faces, I was still okay with that because they do it like pretty quick. And you're like, okay, I really get a sense of this is like the Nosferatu version. You want to see the white out eyes because it makes a connection with his victims later on, like, oh, they're under the trance. I mean, you get that anyways, but still, I'm okay with that. I think where it really just went off the rails was when that one dude was rowing away in his little lifeboat and he lands in the fog, and that's fine. That's where they should have left it. He lands on the tip of the boat in the fog and you get to see the
just
big
had
wings.
Like claws on the edge.
Yeah, or even I'm fine with the big wings like covered by fog, but then they go full bore with it. Like you just can see everything. And then from then on out, it's like, we don't care about hiding him anymore. I just don't understand that mentality. It always I've never had that reveal happen where like, now we're just going to show you all the monster from now on and it benefits it. I just don't know what people are thinking.
I don't know. I can see. Sorry, go Bob.
My favorite moment in this whole movie is when the kid's trapped and Dracula's coming after him, and they break a hole in the door, and it's the first time the whole crew actually sees Dracula, and they're looking through the hole in the door, and they get like a side profile shot of him, and I'm pretty sure in that moment it is silent and they all just sort of like take a step back and they're like not sure exactly what they're looking at, and it's so incredibly effective. I love that moment in this movie.
Actually,
they just don't carry that sort of vibe on. That's like really the only taste of it that you get.
Yeah.
And like that whole scene is pretty good because even when we first realize he's in that room, like I really like that where the kid runs back and he's being chased by whatever that guy's name was, who's a vampire guy. And the guy's like smashing his face into the door and the kid's hiding or whatever. That scene lasts a little too long, but like there's that scene where like there's that moment where he kind of like looks over and he sees like Dracula's curled up and he kind of starts moving. And that's fucking great. And then it gets to the part you're talking about. I'm like, that's all great. That scene is.
That's the best scene, I think. Yeah.
It might be. And it's just like, man, I don't know. Like, they just can't stick the landing on most things. Like everything in a vacuum is good until you put it all together, and it's like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Like it's a confusing mess.
They're like afraid to play it down. Like they feel obligated. I guess because Marvel's shit. I don't know. Like they just feel.
You gotta do it big. You gotta have a hero.
Yeah. This did have like a pretty solid budget of like $45 million, and like
damn, dude.
I don't think it needed it. Like they didn't have. It's really cool that they built the boat. It's super cool, but they didn't have to do that necessarily.
I don't think that's where half the budget went.
Probably not. Honestly, probably not. But yeah, they're definitely not going to make it back either, which is kind of a bummer.
But the thing is, like, I don't like. I do get the idea of like the big budget and they didn't need, but it just doesn't seem like the budget is the problem. Except for we've invested too much in this, and then the studio feels like that. I feel like that's the safest route to go. Spend less money so that the studio doesn't give a fuck.
Leave you alone.
Because that's what's great about horror. Yeah, that's what's great about horror is because a lot of the times you can do things on these like really slim budgets, and it restricts you as a creative to kind of like think outside the box. So we get some interesting types of things. We're not putting fucking Smashing Pumpkin songs in here, so we can't afford that fucking licensing. and then the studio doesn't give a shit because they're like, okay, what? I mean, even if this thing breaks even, whatever. Yeah. But on the off chance that like, oh, this hits like just perfectly well right before Halloween and people really flock to this and it makes 10 times what we actually put in it, then that's great. It's like, but when you have a bigger budget like this, like you see the studio interference, it's gotta be big. It's gotta have this hero in it. He's gotta be perfect. perfect. He literally can't have any fucking flaw. It's like what?
to either better or worse. Blumhouse is what it is, but that's like the Blumhouse model. They typically give you like 5 to 10 million, and they leave you alone. You make the movie you make, and it works or it doesn't, and they make out fine in the end. And prime example, we're talking Universal monster in Dracula. Blumhouse was like a joint project between Blumhouse and Universal did a joint project whenever they did Invisible Man a few years ago, the remake that came out, and that budget was like $7 million, and it made like $150 million or something. Like it was
a great movie.
Focused. It's a great movie. Yeah,
great movie. Yeah,
simple, boiled down to the point. Like they could have done something a little more along those lines.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely.
And I think it's like simple. It's simple in storytelling terms, but not in like richness of characters and like undercurrents and things like. There's a lot you can dig into with that movie. This movie, it's hard to really understand why they do any of the plot beats that they do for the most part. Like we talked about all the ways they could have fucking killed Dracula in this movie, but just never did, just never thought to. Instead came up with convoluted plans that were doomed to fail.
Let's wait till he comes out and tries to murder us.
Then we'll get him.
Then we'll
just crack all those fuckers open and dump them into the sunlight and then the ocean. Do it.
And then they just don't do anything about it.
They found a woman in one of those things, and they don't
on the first
start
day,
cracking them open.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I was thinking that thing because I was like, damn, when she has the biomarks and stuff, I was like, well, damn, yeah, sure, certainly they're gonna look. How many women are they gonna find? I thought they were gonna do like a Brides of Dracula type of thing.
That would be
when
cool.
the first one popped out, and then that's a good point where they never go. Yeah, we found this woman in a box, and we're not the least bit curious that there might be more women in boxes.
Fucking. And by the way, famously, the dirt is part of Dracula lore, and they, I think, assume that that like Dracula has to have some of his home soil with him wherever he goes. Except in this fucking movie, apparently, because he just flies off a fucking shipwrecked boat that has all of his shit in it.
That's true.
Just doesn't need that anymore. I don't understand.
Well, they didn't wrap that up well.
The dirt is a vampire. Just like the song says.
Ultimately, to be fair, we do see that the ship is like run aground. So I mean,
it's run aground. I guess he could go rescue it, but what is it like? I don't know.
Save my dirt, guy.
Well, it's like that. It's like that scene in fucking Nosferatu where he's literally like carrying his coffin through the ship.
Yeah, actually, they should have just intercut that in there.
Yes, public
I would
domain.
respect the fuck out of that.
Drop that shit.
Why not? That's true. That's good.
We should make a fan edit and just cut the two movies together. It'll work.
I think I don't know. But what do you guys think? I think we've railed on this movie pretty good.
We have.
We've tried to give some good
coffee.
Yeah, I mean, overall, still, like, at the end of the day, I think this is such a fantastic concept for a movie. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that they really, like, explored the idea's full potential. It feels a little hollow. It feels a little straightforward. Like, there's just not enough really happening in the movie between the characters, and Dracula's just kind of like baseline. Like, he does sort of get in their heads a little bit and manipulate them. He does turn into fog, like, once or twice, and, like, he doesn't really use it too much. Like, it just, his powers seem like they're not utilized to their fullest extent, and like the characters aren't developed well enough, and we don't get enough like interplay between them. It just doesn't feel like any of it's reaching its full potential. It's just kind of like it's like halfway cooked.
And it's one of those things too where it's like I understand that this is a chapter out of Dracula that they're expounding upon, and that like it's to be expected that people are familiar with fucking Dracula when they come and see this movie. But at the same time, it really kind of has a feeling of like I don't know, like, we don't need you to wink at the camera. And I'm not entirely sure that's what I would call it, but it just like some of the stuff is like, I don't know, it doesn't feel organic. If you want this to feel like Alien, you have to put us in the shoes of people who don't know what the fuck is happening. So like, I don't know, some of the stuff about like, that they kind of just figure out is stuff that doesn't logically make sense, like surmise, and then stuff, and then they can't figure out things like the sun is a problem for Dracula, even though they watched more than one person explode.
We're pretty much doing it anyways. Let's go ahead and rate this thing out of 5. Randy, continue your thought process there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, it's disappointing because this is like Andre Ovredal. Like I respect this man's work. You look at fucking Autopsy of Jane Doe and you see a fucking bottle movie for the most part that works so great because it just gives some quiet to it. Like that ringing bell is fucking great. It works perfect. Yeah. And that's how that knocking should have worked, but it was drowned out by the OST and by some of the more bombastic shit that's going on. And you just need some quiet, some downtime for characters to sort of like really flesh out what they're about and make it something that you can relate to. If Clemens' whole thing is that he needs to understand things, he can't just say that and that's that. It has to be him being like
prove it.
You don't have to you don't have to inform it by a bunch of trauma or anything. You could, but you don't have to. You don't have to do anything. You could just, but like show that it's a problem for him, or show that like it's an inescapable fact about his character. He's obsessive. Yeah, he's like I don't know. Maybe have him drop a line about how he like had trouble in school because he wouldn't stop studying X when he was supposed to be studying Y because he was so fascinated about the natural world, or like
that's
whatever.
Even like towards a Frankenstein tale, honestly.
Yeah, really, and that would be fine. Like I wouldn't have a problem if they did that. I'd just like give him something more than just saying to camera, I am interested in discovering the natural world and understand why bad things happen and good things happen.
I am so perfect.
Like they have this religious character on board and he's like mostly played for not laughs, but just like quick, like, I don't know, nothing scenes pretty much. Like he's kind of just like fodder in the end. I don't know. I don't want to keep complaining about this movie so much because it just to me feels like squandered potential, but like a majority of it isn't bad. It's just it can't work itself together. It just feels very disjointed from itself. I don't know how. I'm just going to keep repeating myself, I think. So if I had to give this a score, I'm going to go with I'll go with a 2.75.
Randu.
I just don't know, man. It's not middle of the road. It's not like completely mediocre. It's got a lot going for it. It just, I don't know. There's things that sort of like it blunts itself with bad decisions in a few places and with overdoing it in a few places. And I don't know who exactly is to blame, but my experience with Ovredal is that I don't think he was the one adding so much of this stuff in here that didn't need to be there. I feel like he's a more capable director than that. But then again, we also saw Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and that movie, for all the things I like about it, it struggles with all the characters and the branching stories and all those things a little bit. So maybe he's better at more insular stories in general. Troll Hunter is a little bit more about a ragtag group that's together. This one is just it's kind of got more characters maybe than is manageable, and a lot of just cheese whiz on top, man. I don't know how else to say it. There's just a lot of money sprinkled on top that doesn't really amount to much. I don't know. 2.7.
All right. I'll slide in here real quick. I love
Bob. Out of 5. The last voyage of the Dementors. Where are they headed?
The Dementors. I love this concept. I think it's a great idea for a movie. Dracula, for the most part, really handled well, which was a great, pleasant surprise. I was a little worried. I think we were all like a little worried going in, like if they were going to, CG the shit out of him, but that's not the case. I think the acting here is good. I think the characters they set up are generally fairly interesting. They just don't have enough to do. And the movie is... It just really like takes a shit, I feel like, in the second act. Like they set it up, you get to meet these characters, we get on the boat, the voyage, it's like it's all happening, and then there's just like not a whole lot going on, and then we get just like just a face load of Dracula at the end, and then it kind of wraps up. I want more from these characters. I want a little less from Dracula, honestly. They definitely should have done more with the crates and like what was in them, and not just like the one single girl. Like I don't know. They could have just been filled with corpses. I guess it was like a convenient way to have her explain some of the history of who Dracula, but like everybody knows who the fuck Dracula is. Good use of the fog, which I'm a fog boy. I'm very pro fog. Them killing the kid like surprised the hell out of me. They didn't pull any punches there, and that whole scene, yeah, as we mentioned, is definitely probably the best scene in the movie. There's at least a couple times they had like the Dracula flying directly at the camera, and like you see his face, and it's just like so like hacky. It feels just very try hard, and like you just really don't have to do any of that in this movie. I wish it was a little more understated, a little more like gritty. Yeah, the plan at the end is very stupid. To catch Dracula at night is dumb, and I don't know why they arrived at that conclusion. But overall, like, there's more good than bad here. I definitely didn't hate this movie whatsoever. I don't know that I'll be in a big hurry to rewatch it. It's worth checking out at least once. I'm gonna echo Randy. Actually, I was going back and forth between 2.5 and 3. I'll do a 2.75, right in the middle.
Question that just occurred to me: do you guys think you would enjoy this movie, or that it would feel more? I wonder if black and white would have done better for this movie.
It would have.
It would have been
black
cool.
and white, calmer and quieter.
Yep.
Whenever you see you maybe have 1 or 2 scenes of Dracula like sprinting across and doing whatever, but like for the most part, he's just like a presence on board that you get glimpses of, and that he's just kind of standing in the corner or something. That's when he's most effective.
Yeah, when he was just like standing on the deck and he's like super skinny, or like when he was crawling out that little space on the deck. That was great.
That's the best.
When he was smothering the girl with his wings, I loved her face showing through the wings and stuff. Like that's the most I want to see of Dracula, is that and maybe 1 or 2 shots of him like menacing the camera.
Some like,
but not so many.
Some like low like oboe, just wow, just kind of like
bring out the loot, man. You know?
Get that cursed loot out here, Billy.
Curse that loot. Juice. What do you think? Out of 5?
Yeah, I feel a lot of the same ways. It is frustrating because I really liked this first half, and I thought that this first half was handled really well, other than some, the character building that Randy kind of mentioned, where that dude just dropped. The monologues in here are mostly just bad, but until you know that they're going to pay off in terrible ways, you can kind of get by. You're like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. Like even the setup, where we get the guy who's like highly religious, like we're not really sure where that's going to go, and how, this man of science versus this idea of superstition or religion is going to like play in, and like this push and pull situation. And it really kind of doesn't, but you don't know that when you're setting it up. You're like, okay, these seem like intriguing pieces that we can work with. I think they handled Dracula really well in the first half. I thought it looked good. I liked the ship feel. Even when they were like loading stuff up on deck, and like just the kind of opening scene where they're like, oh, the Demeter, it needs some new hands, and they're like picking people and stuff. That just I felt like a rich kind of world. Made sense. And so I was about that, seeing all the rats kind of running around, and then that kind of line about them. That guy kind of went out too quick. That guy was apart from our main character, that guy was kind of pretty interesting. And honestly, I think he could have been the replacement for, I don't think we needed the woman to explain about Dracula's castle necessarily, and where he comes from. That dude was kind of delivering the things that help you kind of put the mental pieces together, especially in a society that pretty well knows a decent amount about Dracula already. I feel like that guy would have been enough. Really up until the scene where the kid bursts into flames. That's where it like takes a hard drop off for me. And then the second half, it's just really not good. It shows too much of Dracula. It loses that sense of tension. The logic fucking flies out the window. There's Nothing makes sense. I hate that there's somebody that survives in the end and is hunting Dracula, and that this monster that has no semblance of humanity throughout most of this film is rolling around in a fucking coat and a top hat. That just is
It's got that
stupid.
swinging dong, though. That's pretty human.
And his little like side grin in the bar or whatever. I was like, this is so stupid.
They should just make him a normal guy. That's how he does his shit.
Yeah.
He blends.
Well, and so mostly just because I want to keep it consistent, because so I'm going to give it a 2.5 and highlight that the past 3 weeks we have covered 3 new films, and we have all given the same score on each one, and they vary from the best to the worst to middle.
So you 2.75 or 2.5?
I'll give 2.75.
2.75. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, we're on
this
just because I gotta keep it consistent.
Right.
I'm a system boy. So
And much on some grinding.
And yeah, the best of those 3 movies, according to our scores anyways, was Talk to Me, which definitely had the smallest budget of all of them. I think it was like around $7 million. And then the Haunted Mansion had like 150, and this was like 45.
That was the worst.
The worst, yeah. So go figure.
Clearly, there's
there's a formula here.
There's a formula.
But yeah, that's going to be a 2.75 from the Straight Chilling crew. Let's jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Certified death.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment of the show, in which I'm going to have these 2 gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com for The Last Voyage of the Demeter. We're going to start with the critics score, as we always do. And I'm going to start with Juice tonight, let's say. Juice, there are 120 reviews total for this in the critical category. What percentage of that do you think are positive scores?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell with the critics on this one, because there are some, like they built a ship, and and there is a lot of practical effects going on. So I would think that would probably play positive, but I don't know. They probably feel very similar to us, honestly. So I'll say a 50.
Flat 50. Okay.
Yeah.
Bob, how about you? Where are you coming in on this? Over, under?
I was thinking the exact same thing, just right down the middle. I feel like I've seen more negative than positive, so I'll take the under, but not too far under. I'll take like a 46.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
We have a tie. It is 48%.
Perfect.
That's a
hell yeet skeet.
Hell yeet skeet.
A yeet skeet boogie.
It's a yeet skeetin' boogie is what it is. This is just evolved into babble for people who have never listened to it. Yeah, so you guys are right down the middle on this. 48%, 120 reviews. Let's jump over to the audience score, and then we'll read the critical consensus. Bob, we'll start with you on this one. There is 100 plus verified ratings, so still a pretty small sample here. Why don't you tell me what you think the audience score is for A Last Voyage of the Demeter?
I think it's going to be lower than the critics. I'll take a 35.
35.
Yeah.
All right. Juice, how about you?
I think it'll be higher than the critics. Ooh. Because the kind of way this movie's built is to kind of smooth out particular edges to be more accessible, I guess, or to be the most kind of accessible. So I think we saw that too with Haunted Mansion last week, I think, where critics weren't crazy about it, but then viewers with like kids were like, hell yeah. So I'm still not going to go too high, but I think I'll take my 50 still. I'll go 50.
Well, the 50 is going to work out for you, but not nearly as close as you were hoping, I'm sure. 73% positive from the audience.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of what we saw with Haunted Mansion last week, too. Yeah.
I mean, in general, if it's got a lot going on, if it's got a lot of action and, and whatever, people are pretty forgiving, I think, is what we're learning, and critics
Normies,
are not.
we call them. Yeah.
Fucking plebes.
Idiots.
There's normies.
They
always stroll into the theater and they always say, hell yeet.
If anybody ever did that when I was sitting in the theater, I would lose my mind. Laugh my ass off.
Dude, yeah, I would laugh. All right, the critics' consensus reads as follows. The Last Voyage of the Demeter finds a fresh angle on Dracula's oft-told tale, although lackluster execution often undercuts the story's claustrophobic tension. See, I don't even like... claustrophobic tension doesn't even need to apply here. Did you guys feel it?
Not really.
I mean, then that one scene where the kid like squeezes through the door and he's trying to... I mean, that's the one...
somehow doesn't feel like a bottle movie.
The movie, yeah.
No. It doesn't.
It feels too open, and it's not because it's on a ship and you can see the horizon or anything. It's just like there's it seems like there's so little of like people like feeling the feeling of constraint isn't there for me. All right, okay. I don't know what that was. Let's read some negative reviews because they tend to be a little bit funnier. Here's one. One thing is for sure, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, aka Dracula Boat, is truly a horror as it showcases the behaviors of a terrible roommate. Dracula is a slob. There is no reason we shouldn't be on this list making similar dumb jokes.
I know, yeah. The weekly reminder to give us a 5-star review on Apple.
Let us sully Rotten Tomatoes on your behalf.
Yes.
So we can, which we might not even need that, but please give it to us anyways.
We need like a baker's does, and then we're in.
Yeah. We might have found a workaround around the system, but still, it would be nice to have that.
You just buy the .com and you can do whatever you want.
That's right.
RottenTomatoes.com.
That's how copyright law works.
It goes straight to us.
Oh, fuck. Well, we'll read one more just for the fun of it. A hackneyed, clunky script and dull, unappealing characters sink this experience shortly after it embarks. This Dracula has fangs, but they are softer than butter. God damn. Fucking Peggy Hill writing movie reviews these days. I don't know, man.
Butter.
Got them country crock things.
Yeah, damn. Makes me wanna.
That one really
roll.
I want to really butter your bread.
My garlic bread?
No.
Oh no. We're entering dad joke territory. Let's step it up, guys. We're not going to make this Rotten Tomatoes list that way.
We're killing
Or maybe we will.
Apparently we will.
Yeah.
Apparently we need more.
We're
riffing
on the review that you just read.
It's so Peggy Hill to me. It's like it comes off as literally like a Peggy Hill musing. This one, it just drives me nuts. That shit. Anyway, that's it for the Rotten Tomatoes segment.
All right, that's
it. For
new release. It really doesn't have hardly any trivia to speak of. So let's just jump into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the Week.
Juice, what is a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's character type in a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, I think that this might be a tough one because I feel like the character development in this movie is pretty subpar.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
We just do Dracula. It's like... the only
it's like Dracula,
but I don't know if Dracula is going to be good enough to hit the Cooter scales. Dude, honestly, that's how subpar. If
you can't Cooter up Drac, then you're doing something wrong.
Cooter up.
Let's see.
So this is a pursuit of justice, not a pet project.
No,
So
I'm speaking about the filmmaker, not us. Like, if you can't,
not us.
if you
Gotcha.
can't do that.
So I mean, I guess honestly, in this film, I might think his strongest one was smug arrogance, because he doesn't speak much, and he has that one moment where he's like, "I'm not afraid of you," and he's like, "You will be, So I mean, that's smug arrogance, and then he gives a sly little smile there at the end. So that's kind of like taunting.
That's what I would do. with
So
Dracula.
we got that. Anything else?
Manipulation.
Yeah.
I mean, they make a point, at least
Yes.
canonically speaking. He has manipulation because he games the scenario. He gives them a bonus if they get there straight away, and it puts them into waters that makes
True.
it so that
He
the
also,
closest
like,
port is the one they're heading towards.
charms
True.
those that he's bitten. He can like take over their mind and shit.
Yeah.
He's got that going on.
Yeah.
Look in a tire. He looks like a pretty dapper gentleman to me. I don't know.
Oh
He
yeah,
looks
that
like Kane.
really works.
The cane's nice.
He's got the drip. This guy.
He's got that wolf cane.
Drac drip.
That
That
cane
drip.
design, honestly, I thought that was pretty cheap looking. I'm not gonna lie.
It didn't impress me, but like I don't know. Like I don't.
It's like
At
a
that
wolf.
point, I was kind of like, this just feels like a too
Like a figurine
overdone thing.
wolf
already.
you'd see in a grandma's house or something.
Yeah, my grandma.
He got it
keeps
from
Dracula's
Granny
good.
Drac. It's a family heirloom.
Now you kids eat your blood sausage. Patheticness,
Yeah.
no.
No.
Sexual deviancy, no.
No, they didn't even make Dracula a sexual deviant. What are you doing?
You don't want to see the bat cock. You don't.
I don't know.
I mean, speak for
He
yourself.
doesn't. I guess there's no one like he doesn't. Drac is like straight. He is straight. He's not going to seduce one of these boys, and there's no ladies except for the one he's already seduced.
I didn't get that.
He's an
tone.
I
alpha.
didn't get that at all.
He's straight. You hear me?
I feel like Dracula's only turning down his collar. You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit.
He's
No,
getting
I don't know.
it
I don't think
in.
that there's nothing sexual about this movie at all.
We all know Dracula's pan. Come on.
I
But
mean,
that
he's
is
a bat.
3.
He's a wolf. He's fog. He can fuck whatever he wants.
Dude, when you
He's
roll through a
fog.
Drac fog, he is
He's
fucking
fog.
you.
He is fucking your lungs.
You're just strolling through a fog, and then Dracula reforms from the fog. It's like, nice. Smokes a cig.
And it's,
Up top.
damn,
That's what a boy likes.
he's fucking your lungs.
Fuck just
Yeah.
fucked me.
Bob loves that. I
Apparently.
love how much Bob loves that.
There's not even,
Oh,
I didn't
no.
even say the word shit or poop or anything. And Bob's just listening.
I'll be here all night.
That's unusual.
So yeah,
All right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't think he hits
I mean,
enough.
that's 3. No, he does.
Wait, what was
He hits
the third
manipulation, smug arrogance, and looking a tire.
Oh, okay.
And
Fine.
the only other person I could think of
Barely
that could
got him.
even stand a chance is the guy who the first guy he kills, who's like a little racist.
Yeah, was
and
that
that's
I
about
meant
it.
to look? I meant to look at the cast because we got old
Dastmalchian?
the Onion Knight in here. What's his name?
Oh yeah,
Davos.
fucking Ian or Liam.
Oh, Liam
I'm
Cunningham.
gonna look
Yeah, and I was wondering if that dude with the chops was the other guy who is in Game of Thrones who ends up banging the queen or whatever.
Oh
that-
no.
No, they look similar though, right? You know who I'm talking about?
I think I do. You're talking about the one that gets with Khaleesi?
No. The guy who's got all the ships. He's such a huge cooter. He's a terrible character.
Oh,
You know who I'm talking
Oh.
about now, right?
yeah, the fucking
They look
drowned
similar.
god kid.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, I don't think they look that similar myself, but
Really? Okay.
I don't
It is
think so,
him.
but
No, it's him.
is it really?
Wait.
No, I don't think so. I'm looking at his IMDb right now. I don't think so.
Oh, he was in I recognize that. He was in maybe Daredevil, I think, or something.
Deadpool, apparently.
Deadpool.
He's
okay.
Colossus in Deadpool. That's
Oh,
what he
really?
is.
In
Oh,
Ted
okay.
Yeah,
Pool.
which means he's there in voice only.
Oh,
Interestingly.
weird. Okay.
That's why you recognize him.
All right. Well, he's not from Game of Thrones, I guess. Oh, he was in Daredevil. Okay, he was in Daredevil.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I never saw
And
that.
Stranger Things season 4. What?
Oh God.
He was probably a Russian soldier or some shit.
He was a Russian prison guard. Exactly.
Nailed
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Okay.
All right, we got Dracula, Cooter of the Week, barely squeaked by, barely. Yeah, let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randeezy, what you been watching?
So, not a whole ton of new stuff. Still working through Tears of the Kingdom. I'm over 160 hours into it. It's great.
Damn.
Oh, Andy.
I've been rewatching The Bear with Beck. Beck finally got on board. We finished season 2 this afternoon or this evening before this podcast.
Nice.
So we are caught up, and I fucking love that show. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
Next season is season 3, which means that inevitably people are going to start hating on it real hard no matter what happens. And
Including you.
I can't wait to see if I'm one of the haters. Let me be the hater I always meant to be.
I was so stupid for liking this show.
I'm an
before.
idiot.
I was a fool, but you can be saved.
The culture.
Yes, my hater boots are just waiting for me to put them on. Anyway,
Damn.
the new stuff, the other stuff I've watched that I haven't mentioned for the last 4 weeks or whatever. I watched a true crime. It's a documentary called Glitch, The Rise and Fall of HQ Trivia, which is HQ Trivia. I don't know if you guys had heard of it, but it was like a live streamed game show format where you could theoretically win real money, and it collapsed on itself. It was like, anyway, I had never heard of it somehow, but apparently it was a huge fucking deal to where like the host was like on Stephen Colbert and doing all kinds of shit. Like it was a huge deal for like 6 months. And then they collapsed on themselves, and it's dead now. Or no, it's close to dead now. I don't know if it's still entirely dead. Anyway, point is, this documentary was boring to me. I did not have a stake in it, and I thought it was going to go to darker places, but it did not. It was just a business that was poorly run. It did go to a dark place where there was a suicide involved. But yeah, so yeah, that was dark.
Not dark enough.
You want darker.
For Randy, not for me. Damn.
You want darker? I got you. We did a 90s night, me and Beck. Watched a couple movies from the 90s, one of which Beck hadn't seen, which was Fargo. We got to watch that. That one gets pretty fucking dark.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, though, man. God damn if the Coen brothers can't make a good movie. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground by saying that. And then last, another... Yeah, I know, really. And now for another hot take, Office Space. What a great fucking movie that is.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Office Space.
Office?
Love it.
It's like Dilbert if it was made by a not racist.
That's what she said?
I guess.
Same thing? Yes.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Wait a minute. Did I say The Office? Did I say The Office?
No.
No,
Just
Okay, I did say Dilbert, right? I don't want to accuse Michael Schur of being a racist. Anyway,
Office Space
that's
is
it for
amazing.
me.
Yeah.
Office Space, yes.
It's a great movie. Watch it if you haven't. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched a new film called Cobweb, and that one was pretty good, I think. One thing I will say about that movie is it's got some great Halloween vibes. It's got some
Everybody
great
says that. I'm dying to watch it just for that.
I mean, just the people in the movie have a pumpkin patch in their backyard. There's jack-o'-lanterns galore. There's the main character. It's an elementary school kid. They're carving pumpkins in their class one day. There's class decorations, Halloween stuff. So it's got all the vibes. And Anthony Starr is in it. Who is he's in that superhero
from The Boys?
Homelander, thank you.
Oh.
From The Boys, yeah. He's in it, and I think it's got some good things going for it. It's got some not so good things going for it too, unfortunately. But I think at some point we'll be covering it in some capacity, maybe a mini cast, maybe Yeah. So I won't go too much into it, but for the spooky vibes, I thought I had them, and they were pretty good spooky vibes, which is going to be a trend because I'm going on a kind of last summer trip to the beach this weekend, and I was saying like, oh, I'm going to hold off all of my my Halloween watches until after that, but that one kind of broke it with all the pumpkins and everything. So I have been watching some Treehouse of Horrors. I think the most recent one I watched was 20, because that's where they kind of start getting good again. And it was one that actually spoofed Twilight. And even though I don't like Twilight, or I've never seen Twilight, it was actually a pretty funny spoof. So
sure.
I know. Well, I'm pretty critical on some of the newer, which that's not even that new, but
no, I was sharing your I've never seen Twilight ruse.
I've never seen it.
That's an Edward. I don't know.
So I watched that. I also watched this is something I watched last year, and I watched as a kid, but it's on Disney Plus, so I watched it again. It's called Lonesome Ghosts. It's only 8 or 9 minutes from 1937. Damn. It's an old Mickey Mouse cartoon where Mickey and Donald and Goofy are ghost hunters, and the ghosts call them to their own house to fuck with them. And so just this kind of it's a good little short. And so if you got Disney Plus, it's on there. And that kind of then recommended me some like really old stuff. And since football's kicking off too, there is these like I guess also too, Disney's doing their like 100th anniversary or something like that, because there's this category on Disney Plus called like Disney 100. And one of the things that it recommended me after I watched that short was there are these Goofy shorts where they used to make them, and they're like how-tos, like how to do something. And it's one of those things that's almost got like a narrator, and Goofy does it in a really kind of ridiculous way. So one of them was how to play football, but it was made in 1944. So all the tropes about football are like the fucking oldest imaginable about football. So it's really funny because like half the plays they call are like, give it to the halfback. And I'm like, holy shit.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So yeah, 1944, it's just called How to Play Football, and it's just a goofy little short. And then he's got a bunch of them. I might watch some more. So I watched that. And also and then the final thing, I watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Rick Moranis. Yeah.
That's horror. So,
yeah, true horror. It was fun. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I used to watch all 3 of those movies a lot when I was a kid. And it held up pretty good. I've been watching like Homeward Bound. I watched Mighty Ducks recently. So I've been watching a lot of those like old school films. And for the most part, it held up pretty good. Maybe not as good as I thought it would, but that's another one that has a lot of fun practical effects that for the most part hold up in a dated kind of way, but still in a way that looks like impressive. Like they're walking through the grass and giant Lego and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. So another big plus for practical effects on that end. But yeah, that's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Oh, hey.
Getting into Halloween stuff?
No, it's over 100 degrees every day here still, so I'm not really in the spirit. I did watch Cobweb, though, just because I was really curious about it, hearing a lot of stuff about it, and it hit VOD on Friday, so you can rent it. I think I'm a little cooler on it than you are. It has some neat stuff going on. It has some like pretty bad stuff going on too. But it's got Homelander, Lizzie Kaplan. They're like a married couple, and they've got a little boy who's like hearing crazy stuff in the wall. And
you didn't say a word about Lizzie Kaplan. That really piques my interest. She fucking rules.
Yeah.
Ooh, Randy, keep it in your pants.
I won't.
She's good in it. I mean, there's some solid acting in it for sure. I think it's. I don't know. It is what it is. We might talk about it later.
Some things.
There's some things. I watched season 3 of I Think You Should Leave on Netflix. I never really watched this show before. It just was there, and I hit play, and they're super short. They're like maybe 15-minute episodes or something like that. Then they're like it's comedic. There's like, I don't know, 3 skits per show, and they're just funny little really awkward bits that made
I
me
don't
laugh.
even want to be around anymore.
Made me laugh a lot. So I enjoyed that. I want to go back and watch the other couple seasons because I just haven't seen them. Last thing I have witnessed with my eyeballs this week was a 2-part documentary. It was on HBO. It's called If God Is Willing and the Creek Don't Rise. And it's about the city of New Orleans 5 years after Katrina hit, and they're like, trying to come back from it. And there is, I forgot all about this, that like massive BP oil spill in the Gulf, like right after Katrina, and they're like dealing with the aftermath of Katrina plus that. And just like the horrors of all of the wildlife in the Gulf just being covered in oil and dying. And like, it's just nightmarish. And that freaking oil spill lasted for 90 days. They just let it
it's just
pour
pouring.
Oil for 90 fucking. It is insane.
Now we're eating that shit. When you go out to old Joe's Crab Shack.
Dude, it is infuriating to watch that shit. It is like heartbreaking. It's like 2 parts, and each part's like 2 hours. It's a lot. It's a lot for your soul to handle.
I didn't realize those. For some reason, I thought the BP was years later. Like I would have, if I had to guess, I would have said around like 2011, 2012. I didn't realize it was back to back like that.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years after Katrina. So it's basically back to back.
Well, then that would. Okay. Then that would be 2011. Okay.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, the city was still in shambles. So like it.
Okay.
They weren't like good to go, and then there was another problem.
Okay.
It was pretty fucked up still.
Okay.
So yeah, that was Spike Jones directed that. He did like another 2-part documentary that was just about Katrina, and then I guess he came back and did this like follow up a few years later. So
and
all that's
what's
on
the name
HBO.
again?
If God's Willing and the Creek Don't Rise.
Okay, that is. I got to see if it affects my soul. So
it will.
If you want to watch the other one,
it will remind you how terrible the world is, Randy.
Dude, goddamn. When the
I
levees,
need to remind it.
When the levees break is the first thing.
Yeah, that's the one I knew, and that's why I was like, I didn't think that was so long, but I see now. Okay.
Yeah. So all that's on HBO. If you want to be sad, watch that.
Always
want to be sad. That's all I've been watching. We do have 2 voicemails this week, so let's jump into our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. 2 voicemails. First up, we're going to hear from our boy Corey. He called in. He's got a shit story. He's calling in with a shit story.
Yay!
Oh, boy.
Here we go.
You did this.
Yes, I did.
Here we go.
So apparently we're doing stories about shitting ourselves. I'm a couple of days late. It's Corey, if you don't know the voice by now. Yeah, Juice, don't worry. Don't worry. I've never actually shit myself. But there's a reason for that. So, Bob, don't let this dissuade you. When I was like 18, 19, I worked at Lowe's. And I walked to work at the time. It was 5.5 miles, and I was speed walking. I could get there in 50 minutes. There was one morning, y'all, this is the Lowe's at Regency. You know the one. You 3 do. So I am almost at work, and my bowels are like ready to go. But I always get to work early, so there's no access to the bathrooms. My shift starts at 4. It starts at 4 in the morning, so everything is closed. So this one day, the bomb is ready to drop. Things are ready to go. I am almost at work, and I can't hold it anymore. And so there's a Steak and Shake right there next to that Lowe's. So I run up there. All the lights are on, but nobody's actually in there. Go into the bushes, drop trowel, and have the cleanest deuce I've ever dropped right in their hedges. There were no options. There was nothing I could do. So like I had to do that. So that is the reason why I've never shat myself, is because I am perfectly willing to find a bush somewhere to take care of business. Yeah, I hope that's an entertaining story. Miss you guys.
What a man.
But Corey, how did you wipe?
He said it was a very clean shit. It launched out of his asshole. It missed his cheeks entirely.
What? It just blew out.
Yep.
Damn, I gotta check in with Corey. Corey, I haven't talked with you in a while. I'll get with you soon, my guy.
Tell me more about your bowels.
Steak and shits, you know?
Yeah.
I was once in the car with a mutual friend of ours who will go nameless. As he
you mean
yeah, that's what I mean. And like he was driving to his apartment, he was driving and farted the most foul smelling fucking thing I have ever smelled to this day. Smelled like a dumpster fucking on fire that hadn't been emptied in 16 years behind a fucking a liposuction clinic or some shit. And we got to his apartment and he immediately went to the bathroom and was in there for way too long. And we came out, I was like, you shit your pants. So I was trapped in a car that did not have working windows for like 10 minutes while waiting to get to the fucking apartment as this man shat his pants. So that's a thing that happened to me.
I have never. I've never sat next to someone when they shit their pants.
I don't think I've heard that story either. That sounds like my boy.
I don't know that I've ever told it, but
it sounds like my boy Cobb Loff.
Not present company. I will clarify that.
Oh, man.
Okay.
So yeah, shit stories. Always a blast.
That's good shit.
Damn. You shit your pants.
Who else we got, Bob?
Hey, at least he didn't shit in the pool, right?
Never shit in the pool. Thank you for calling, Corey. Thank you for sharing. Glad you dodged that bullet. Next up, we're going to hear from Pappy. See what he's got to say.
Hey guys, it's your boy Pappy. I've called before to talk about Eden Lake and Men, but I wanted to chime in with a few things here after listening to your Haunted Mansion episode. First thing is, I want to talk about the director, Justin Simien. You guys had briefly mentioned that, he got his start directing a movie called Dear White People. I highly recommend that you check that movie out. That is his debut film. It's a dramedy, 2014. Let me give you the premise. At a prestigious, predominantly white university, a group of students are forced to confront prejudices about their own and other people's cultures. I think it's a really good film. It's on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend it. The Netflix show, I don't recommend as much because they take the premise and just stretch it out into multiple seasons, and it got boring. I stopped watching it after a few seasons. But that's on Amazon Prime. But I bring that up because I think if you watch that, you'll see that, it makes no sense to hire Justin Simien to direct Haunted Mansion. But with that, I'll move on. I want to talk about, because you were talking about best and worst movies of the year so far. My best movie, number one, so far of the year is Infinity Pool. I just love everything that David Cronenberg puts out. But I really want to talk about my 3 worst movies of the year, starting with number 3, The Outwaters. It's a found footage movie. It's freaking terrible. It doesn't make any sense, and it breaks the rules of found footage films. I regret letting my curiosity get the better of me. It has a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 45% audience score. You do the math. Number 2, Quasi, which is the latest Broken Lizard movie. It's 1 hour and 39 minutes, but it would have been better if it was 9 minutes long. Once they start repeating jokes that weren't even funny to begin with, I was waiting to be put out of my misery. And my number 1 worst movie of the year, I will fight anyone who says anything's worse than this piece of shit, Fool's Paradise, which is the directorial debut of Charlie Day, which was actually made like 5 years ago, but finally got released now. I would rate this 0 stars if I could. It is literally one of the worst movies I have ever seen. It is just beyond, it's beyond just unfunny or painfully unfunny. It is absolutely the worst dog shit script I've ever seen. And I can't believe that it's actually a movie. Maybe for that reason alone, you should just see it. to see how absolutely god-awful it is. But with that, that's it. My like I said, my 3 worst movies: The Outwaters, Quasi, and then Fool's Paradise, which may be one of the worst movies of all time. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for the show, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
Awesome.
Man, a lot to react to there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I know Fool's Paradise didn't do so hot. Like I had heard like there wasn't a lot of buzz around it or anything like that. I haven't heard anything that negative about it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, damn.
I've not seen
check this
that
out now.
film.
I love me some Charlie Day too.
Yeah,
though.
me too.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I tried to watch Quasi when it came out, and I made it maybe 10 minutes in. I turned that shit off.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a Quasimodo broken lizard thing.
What is
It
Broken
looked bad.
Lizard? What are we
The
talking
dudes
about?
that made
Super
Super
Troopers,
Troopers.
Club Dread,
Oh, okay. I
They're
was
like
like, I don't
comedy,
understand what that
creative.
is.
Beer
Okay.
Fest.
Yeah. So they
I gotcha.
they made this Quasimodo movie. It's on Hulu called Quasi, and it was unwatchable for me. I turned it
Sounds
off.
terrible.
It was
Even
terrible.
just
That
like,
sounds bad.
let's make a Quasimodo comedy. What?
It was. I couldn't do it. Couldn't hang in there.
Okay.
I-
All right.
The Outwaters.
Fucking Disney did it.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one. I know you guys watched it and did a mini cast on it, I think, right?
Yeah.
No,
I did.
Yeah.
yeah.
I did.
Rob did. Okay. Okay. I thought y'all did it together for some reason. Okay.
Yeah, no, I watched it. It's not good.
It's a doo-doo.
Oh.
It's a doo-doo movie.
I have heard that. Yeah.
It's not good. I respect it for the big swing, but it does not. It is what I think most people see Skinamarink as being.
Okay.
It fits in that same space, but it does all the things that I would argue against for Skinamarink that make Skinamarink interesting and fun to talk about and fun to think about.
I see.
Yeah.
I
It,
see.
it has
Okay.
moments, but it's not great. It's not great.
Gotcha.
Infinity Pool, solid.
Yeah, I think he said David
yeah.
Cronenberg, by the way.
Brandon.
I didn't think he said Cronenberg at all.
He said Cronenberg.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought he said
David
some
Cronenberg.
other name, and I was like, wait a second, that's Cronenberg. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Pappy, thanks for calling in. Definitely good to hear from you. Thanks for sharing your best and worst of the year. Again, if you guys are listening and want to call and leave a voicemail for next show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out for next week?
What is on your spooky playlist for this year? Which ones you hitting? Anything new?
Sure.
You talking
Who's
movies
broken the seal on Halloween?
movies
shit
or music?
in general?
Both, I guess.
Both, yeah.
Anything.
You got
I
some
don't know.
spooky tunes. I want to hear about that for sure.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Let's hear about some spooky tunes.
Let's get into it. Come on. Even though I guess by next week it'll be late August.
That might matter to some, but not to me.
I put a picture on the Slack. I was walking in the park. It's still pretty, like, for the most part, hard as shit here. The only good thing is we had this kind of hurricane roll through, and like the past 2 to 3 weeks, even the night times have felt oppressively hot. Like
Yeah.
it's not even cool down at all.
Yeah.
But at least that kind of cut away, and the nights have gotten, like, I think it's better by comparison. It's still pretty warm. Like if you go out, like if I ride my bike, I still get pretty sweaty and stuff. But I was walking through the park, and just a couple of the leaves are starting to get yellow, and I was like, "Whoa, here we go now." Here we go.
Whoa.
Just the
Whoa,
tip,
whoa,
Leaf.
whoa,
Just
whoa.
the tip.
And it's not oppressively hot at night anymore. So yeah.
That's always a plus.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, call in 904-638-3231. Let us know what you're watching and listening to for spooky season. What's getting you in the mood?
Or calling them more shit stories. That was
yeah,
nice.
shit stories are always
That
welcome.
was nice.
That prompt
Very,
is just,
very nice.
it's pinned to this podcast.
It's ever brown.
always there. It's ever brown.
Or Hotline Kinks. You can always call in about your kinks. You
Yeah.
know, it's been a while.
Maybe,
They could be related.
They could be. Let's just cross. Yeah,
Let us know.
cross-promote
Let us
here.
know if you're a
You
big
like
scat
shit?
porn aficionado.
You like it? You like it? Do you like it?
Oh no. Okay.
We're really inviting an element.
Anyways,
Yeah.
we're going to be back next
This
week.
show just shot up in ratings.
Our numbers are doing crazy. We should have been talking
You know
about
what?
shit the whole time.
Whoa. All right.
Well, we're going to be back next week with a brand new show. As always, we're going to be jumping into another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by your boy Dongster Sam. The movie is Found from 2012. There's a lot of movies.
I was right.
There's a lot of movies out there called Found. Make sure it's the one from 2012. It's also on Tubi. You can watch it there. I'm sure you can find it anywhere else, but it is on Tubi for those of you that are Tubi hounds.
All right, Dongster Sam, don't let me down here. I'm really counting on you.
We're counting on you, Dongster.
We're counting on you.
I put all my faith in
Help
you.
me, Dongster. You're my only hope.
Yep, slam your eyeballs into Found. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, find us on all the social medias. You can just search Straight Chilling Podcast. We will pop up. We're on the X. We're on the Threads. We got a Slack channel if you want to join in the daily conversations over on the Slack channel. Hit us up on one of those social media outlets. I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. And that's going to do it. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling. Slap that bleached booty hole.